Pod. This is the comeback from the big ass hiatus, man. Because thank you, Sabaz and Ali, whoever listened during this little down period that I enjoyed, and it's very humbling for me to actually come back to the show because people wanted me back to just talk about it. It was not a lot of people, it was not thousands of people, man, just a couple of few people, but it meant a lot to me that they actually tuned in and listened. But what I'm here for mainly is the man I'm about to talk to right now. If we do a video, because I don't know, I'm still unsure if I want to do a video or an audio, but we'll see how things go. But Sweet 16, episode Sweet 16 starts with the most Sweet 16 guy that I know at the moment, Mr. Sudesh Baniya. Sudesh, welcome to the ASM pod, brother. How are you?
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. एकदमै सन्चै छु. Everything is going great. And thank you for the flattering intro. And what? Personally, भन्नुपर्दा, I was one of the people that listened to the pod during this brief period. भनौँ न. So it's always great to be in a pod that used to listen. होइन? So yeah, everything is good, Dai. What about you?
Things are things are looking up here, man. Things are slowly opening up here in Kathmandu. Of course, Sudesh is in. You're in Doha, right, at the moment?
Yes. Yeah, I'm in Doha.
You are in Doha. And briefly, for any first-time listeners, tell me what are you doing in Doha?
So I go to school in Doha. So my university is based in Doha, although it's an American university here. And I'm a second year journalism student at Northwestern University. So I basically study and try to do sports journalism. So basically, what I do is for the part time, I go to college, and full time, say I talk about sports and football in general. So that's what I do in Doha. And of course, I still think I'm in close proximity with Nepal because of football itself. सबभन्दा धेरै नेपालसँग connect गर्ने कुरा के हो भन्दाखेरि the league is going on. The people that listen to me or at least listen to what I say or read what I write are from Nepal. So I think uh, although I'm based in Doha, I feel closer than ever to Nepal because of football and Nepali football in general. So that's what I do.
That's a beautiful story. Sudesh, it's like God bless Clubhouse for getting us together.
Of course.
We have to give props are due. I know our sports zone people might be listening into this, so hi to them as well. Eventually, uh,
I miss
Sudesh,
that group, to be honest.
I miss it too, man. It was such a fun thing. I mean, I know we were going through such a hard time last year, and just to have the space to talk about something other than the pandemic was just a relief. So yeah, you talked about your love for Nepali football. You talked about how it's something that's kept you connected to home. Talk to me about the state of Nepali football right now. If you would put it in terms of now, we can draw out a report card for Coach Ahmutari as well at this point. Now he's had quite a he's had quite a storied career so far with Nepali media and Nepali football.
Of course. Yeah. It's first things first. I think it's a very exciting time to be a Nepalese football fan based on what we're seeing on the pitch as well as kind of off the pitch. But म चाहिँ on the pitch नै भन्छु.
How much do you want to try to
Hold
replicate
on a
what he's done?
second.
Everyone puts pressure
Hold
on
on a
you
second,
to
man. All right, I'll cut this part out. Don't worry. Well, I'll keep it in if YouTube doesn't put me in. I was watching MMA, by the way. We're gonna do an MMA talk. I was just doing some research. Let's go. Yeah, you're talking about Amatari, Coach Amatari.
Yeah, so I think it's a very exciting time to be a football fan, especially in Nepal. We have a franchise league, which is which is completely unrelated to Abdullah Al Matari's time in Nepal, uh, the know-hows and everything that are based on what's happening on the pitch, based on the changes that we're seeing. After a long period of time, we are seeing a change or a young stream of youngsters coming in the side. So in that aspect, it's a very exciting time to be a Nepalese football fan. They're off the pitch. I think we're still lagging behind, and the state of Nepalese football at present, as good as it seems on the pitch, I think it's equally bad outside of the pitch.
Mm.
If you talk through it, and if you look at examples from around the world, every bit of success that any sports has is cosmetic unless the administration is good. We saw that with Nepalese cricket team. I think talent can only take you as far. We reached the 2014 World Cup. We could have built on that success, but we didn't. And to be honest, as a sports lover and as a Nepali, the defeat against UAE was gutting in a sense. I know, So in Nepalese football, we also reached that certain kind of success. We didn't win the SAF championship, but we still went to the finals. I know. I mean, we had some positive things to talk about. If you ask me if that's been capitalized, and if you ask me if the people that decide are in the right step, I don't think that's happening in Nepalese football. So exciting times on the pitch, but there are still some issues regarding things. And it's not all sunshine and everything, but still, based on what we're seeing and based on how we might look forward, I think it's a pretty decent time, but things are not as good as they seem, to be honest. What I think.
Yeah, I think there have been a few incidents that highlight that as well in the last 12 months. Getting into, you talked about the young Nepali squad, the comeback of Bimal Magar. That's such a, I remember when he came on the scene and he was like this, the young sensation, and injury took its toll. Um, this comeback and the team going ahead, and by the way, thoughts and prayers also go out to Mr. Dangi, and I hope he's recovering well. But this young squad that he's assembled, the tactics that Abdullah Mutari is actually putting into action, where do you see this developing into if things remain the same in the next 3 to 5 years?
You started with Bimal Gatti. To be very honest, he is the golden boy of Nepali football. I've not quite seen a player that quick. I've not seen quite a player with that goal scoring instinct, especially South Asia. We always lacked those kind of forwards. And that's why Sunil Chetri is so special for this reason, because of the scarcity and because of the things that come in. I'm not comparing Bimal to Sunil Chetri at any cost. For us, he is Nepali football's golden boy. And after all the howlers, after all the incidents that happened in his life, including his injuries, and he learned it the hard way. Now, seeing him come back to this side, that the coach emphasizes on young players, I think he was the missing part of the puzzle. I know. If you look at the friendlies against India, we created chances. We had a courage to attack at least two friendlies. That didn't happen SAF championship, still on the friendlies we had the courage to attack. What we didn't have was a goal scorer, and I think that's where Bimal Magar slots in. So I agree to a certain point with the philosophy that Abdullah Al-Batai is going with, assembling a young squad on the national team and looking forward to the future. And if he does things well, he has a contract until 2024, if I'm not wrong. So until 2024, he can do whatever with the squad, and he can perhaps, because in 21, 22-year-old boys, they can develop into a good 25, 26-year-old footballers approaching their peak. And if he extends, whether or not he extends or not, another coach comes in and he can properly build a side on it. But there's also another side to it. For any football national team, you are expected to perform. You are expected to clutch every opportunity that you get. And there's always a counter argument that the national team is not a place where you develop players. a national team is a place where you get the best players in the country. So
Right.
if you build 35 Jana Keora squad, you can have 5 players that are there for exposure. You can have maybe 7 to 8 players, young players that you want to develop in the coming days. But 28 of those have to be the best players in the country.
Yeah.
So it's kind of अलिकति alternative approach. But since we're lagging behind in grassroots and यो जुन recent activities भयो, the only talent stream that used to come to the national team was the ANFA Academy.
Yes.
And I don't think there's a proper academy in place right now. जुन नेपालमा एउटा practice थियो, ANFA Academy को एउटा batch चाहिँ निस्किने. I think the only link that survives until this day in the national team is these guys like Sujal Shrestha, Ananta Tamang, and Bimal Gati Magar. And if you look at it, people might say, these guys are 24. Bimal is 24. Ananta is 24. And Anjan is 23, 24. You might say, 24 cha, bakar ako. They're still young. So look at when they started playing. No. They were released from the academy at the age of 16, 17. Wow. So after that, it's been like 7-8 years since we had a proper academy in place. So you see the likes of people and talented guys like Ayush Kalan coming in, and those are not from the Nepalese football circuit. Those are just pure raw talents. Manish Tangi coming in from South Korea, pure raw talent. So in that case, if he wants to develop, and I see every coach has his own philosophy and every coach can choose the players that he wants. And as far as he delivers, and as far as he delivers promise, which I think he has done till date, at the same time, there lies another argument that national team should consist of best players in the country. So with things, with how we build on and with the intent that we have, I think it's, I don't think this is a perfect time to judge it on inside the pitch. But promising signs, just the hurdles. So yeah, that's how the national team, the young national team, can be analyzed from that spectacle. So it's not always good, but you have to look at the other side as well.
I agree wholeheartedly. The foundation that you're talking about, given time, given the right support from the back end as well, there are, the possibilities are, you name it, it can happen with this team. And I always appreciated Coach Abdullah's bravado of saying, "Why Saf? I want to make AFC. He wants to make the Asia Cup." And those are the goals. I mean, if you at least aim for the stars, you at least crash land on the moon. And if he's allowed time and certain things, I think we might build on this as you talked about. So let's shift gears now, Sudesh. Let's come to the part where Nishant and Raji will be listening in, which is the
Manchester United, of course.
Manchester United. So let's talk about the transfer window. This transfer window was pretty hectic, to say the least. But who would you think is the big winner out of this transfer window in European football?
Difficult question, because January windows are always very tricky. I know summer window, we see transfers happening throughout the window. I know maybe activity deadline body throughout the window you have a more time and more time frame for clubs to plan their transfers. But January window is basically fixing your club. I know what you're lacking mid-season. For example, if your central defender is injured, you can sign a makeshift center back, and that is entirely last-minute decision. So clubs go for a hit or miss. So as a Barcelona fan and as someone who's kind of very interested in Xavi's project, I think from what I see, Barcelona are one of the big benefiters of this transfer window. And if you consider how they've signed and when they signed their coach as well as Phil Coutinho, I think Aston Villa are another great benefiters of this transfer window. So I would go for Barcelona undoubtedly because of the changes that they needed to bring in. Although you can always debate, Dani Alves is aging, Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang is way past his prime, or even towards the dusk, the like end of his career. Or you can always argue Adama Traore does not have that end product with the intent that Xavi had and the missing pieces. And if you put it into that context, I think Barcelona have also been a big benefiters of this transfer window, and also Ferran Torres.
I thought you almost forgot.
No, not at all, not at all.
He's a bright dribbler, winger. He can play. I see him again. There's so many wonder kids that come along,
Yeah.
and like, there's burnout, injury, so many things that happen along the way. Knock on wood for Pedri.
Uh,
But yeah, I would pick if you would if I would definitely pick just because of one signing. Just because of one signing, I would pick Vlahovic at Juventus.
um, yes. So Vlahovic is Juventus. Um, so a lot of hype,
Mm,
and you know a lot of money splattering.
mhm,
And after perhaps almost every big club in Europe at least having a look at it,
mm,
rather than just Zani. Although they didn't go for him, but at least having a look at Vlahovic's situation, because if clubs couldn't sign Erling Haaland, they could have at least landed with Vlahovic. I think it's a very good signing. But as I said, if we talk about the window, if you talk about the signings, and if you talk about the intent and the money spent or the value that they get out of it, I think that's definitely Barcelona. And even if you consider managerial signing,
yeah.
Steven Gerrard signed pretty close to the transfer window. So I think Aston Villa are also in a good position that way.
Mm,
So Vlahovic to Juventus is a big transfer.
mm,
We can see him move in like 2 or 3 years to another club. He's just 21, as far as I know. And he has a side which has the potential to be built around him. And Max Allegri has done that in the past. And maybe it will fare out for Juventus the next season, but in this very season, I don't see Vlahovic's trajectory changing that much. He was scoring at Fiorentina. He will definitely score at Juventus. But in terms of the value added and in terms of the significant difference that he might make, I think uh, he is undoubtedly the biggest move this transfer window, but not the most impacting move, I
mhm,
guess.
mhm. You still give it to Barcelona. I would too, because Barcelona has had they're going through. I mean, they got Danny Alves back. There was
Yes.
nostalgia. There was young people coming in. There was Usman Dembele's agent saying they need more money. It had everything. I mean,
Yeah, it
but
was a crazy transfer window.
crazy transfer window. This now focusing from Europe to the English Premier League, which
Yes.
um, the sides that are lined up, the way that things are going at the moment, it still looks like City's title to lose. Um, and again, we have to credit the fact that City is doing this without a striker, without an out and out striker. And that is something that's been amazing since Kun Aguero left. And yeah, but Liverpool creeping in, that loss to Tottenham, which I mean Tottenham that day was just, I mean, uh, Son was on sublime. Like this is what I hate about Tottenham. They can come out to the park and then play like they could beat Barcelona or Real Madrid, and then all of a sudden the wheels somehow come off, and they usually bottle it when the things start getting to the neck end. But talk to me about the English Premier League, man. What do you think is going to happen come May?
Yeah, I think City's lost to Tottenham saying Igame came out of nowhere once more, because Antonio Conte hasn't settled the way that he would have liked to in the Premier League,
Tell me what's
considering
going
his
wrong. What's
previous
going wrong
record.
there, Sudesh? Let me just jump in. Conte at Tottenham. What do you think is going wrong there?
Okay, so it's an interesting situation at Tottenham on that case, because after they moved on from Jose Mourinho, they went for I think 4 or 5 managers um, in the summer. I know
Yep.
none of them accepted
No.
actually, because this Tottenham side, everyone thought it was crumbling. अनि समरमा चाहिँ हामीले एउटा कन्सिडर गर्नुपर्ने कुरा के पनि थियो भने it was almost certain that Harry Kane would leave for Man City. It was decided on the very last day. So you would not want to embrace a side whose owner has, or chairman at least, has developed a notorious image for being a businessman more than a football man.
Yeah.
And then seeing your striker leave for another direct title rivals, if you can say it. So Antonio Conte was amongst one of them. He was Tottenham's prime target, one of those prime targets. He declined them in the summer, and then Nuno was signed. And after Nuno was signed, he kind of worked in one or two games because what he embraced, the side he embraced, still had repercussions from Jose Mourinho's side. So it was a side that could defend and properly embrace a counter-attacking approach. But after that, they became way too predictable. So with Antonio Conte, although people like to say he likes to strengthen his defense and then he is a defensive-minded manager, but there's a difference in the way that Jose Mourinho or Nuno defend and then Antonio Conte defends. For example, if you look at Chelsea, the title-winning season, and from when Antonio Conte was at Chelsea, they embraced a three at the back out of nowhere, which was very rare at the Premier League. So now I think embracing a side at the middle of the season, I think those kind of makeshift changes are very hard to execute. So I think त्यसले गर्दाखेरि पनि डिप्सहरू चाहिँ हुन्छ. You cannot teach a side how to press and how to defend in a particular structure in just a whisker. It takes a lot of time to do that and a lot of drilling to do that. That's why managers, when they make a move, they preferably do that during the summer window so that they get all the pieces done. So now they have had a good transfer window, I would say. Kulusevski has come in and who has had a really good impact. That what's going wrong at Tottenham at the moment is the inconsistency, and what we need to consider in football is a side can really perform well with a big side, but that very side can struggle with the smaller side because punching above your weight and then being in the commanding seat, those are two different things.
I agree.
You might defend well and hit on counters, but when you are invited to dominate the game, you might not be able to do that. So that's the exact scenario of Tottenham Hotspurs right now. City afforded them some kind of playing space, and fortunately, they extracted goals out of them. Tara, for some side that's very gritty. For example, Brentford have been one of those sides. जो चाहिँ अलिकति gritty नै भएर निस्केको छ यो season. You might not see the same Tottenham and same philosophy working that way. So I think that's the main thing with Antonio Conte's Tottenham right now. But with time, Conte is an excellent manager who has had that track record to deliver things.
Yeah.
And he's come from a very formidable position last season. I know. So I think from the next season or from later part of the season, things will start to change and things will start turning. And you talked about City and everything. So with City, the demon that they had been chasing for so long came back to haunt them. Asti, and Harry Kane really showed them what Harry Kane was. Yeah. So with City, with them not having a makeshift viable striker that just shows the Kun Aguero instinct, I think Julian Alvarez was a very good signing for them your January transfer window. So yeah. So with that being said, I'd like to mention City and Liverpool position excellent managers, really well handled administratively. That's why you rarely see them sign players instantly. They scout them really well and they have a plan in place. For example, I would imagine Liverpool, let's say Luis Diaz, I think they had been scouting him for at least 6 months, at least from the Copa America performance that
How do you rate the kid?
Luis Diaz, I heard his name a year or two only agadi, because I talked to a few yeah, I talked to a few Porto fans, and then they were like, there's this kid from Colombia and who has that Joga Bonito kind
Mm.
of approach, and he's very direct with his incisive runs. And then I covered Copa America entirely, and I used to watch matches, Sappai typical. And from Colombia, there was this kid who was he was not deployed exactly as a winger, but from the midfield he could make runs and then kill you on a second runs and your
Mm.
type ka runs. And he scored a brilliant overhead kick against Brazil, and
Mm.
that was it. I was sold. Luis Diaz was, as they say it in modern terms, a baller.
Mm.
So that's a really good signing and might work well in the club system. And yeah, I was making this point about Liverpool and Man City. So that's why they're in a position where they might not even drop off. They just tend to plateau. Your trajectory यस्तो माथि कर्भमा गइरहेछ भने
Mm.
they just don't fall off. They just plateau. Their performances don't dip. Their performances kind of saturate.
Right.
So that's a result of really good management and really good administration that's backing the management. That's why they are in a position where they are right now. For example, City, although they're just 3 points above Liverpool, they will have the confidence that 10-point drop गर्नलाई पनि एकदमै ठुलो कुरा हो for the coming games. So that's how the English Premier League stands right now. Two clubs have been very excellent. They've been exemplary in terms of how clubs should be run, in fact, and they have enjoyed successes in the past few seasons. On the other hand, there are clubs like maybe if you look at it, I know not many people will be pleased with this, but Manchester United, who have had lackluster management, and then you have some clubs like even Everton, if you talk about it, Fahad Mashiri and everything that's been happening there. They've been fighting relegation, to be honest. Uh, that's the example of like bad management. So that's how English Premier League is separated right now.
Let's circle back like vultures on Manchester United. Manchester United. Look, I was one of the people who was happy when Cristiano came to Manchester United. I thought he was uh, you need that catalyst in a team to
Mm.
sort of to get everybody firing. But uh, I don't know if Manchester United's problems are more deep rooted than that. If it's a locker room that's divided, or if it's when football is played by human beings who are run by emotions, and what whatever side that you talk about, which has done great in history, always had brotherhood and camaraderie in their locker room. And whenever it's split, I don't think it creates a cohesive unit on pitch as well. What is going on? You did a great piece on Manchester United, and you talked about their problems and how Cristiano Ronaldo is not the solution to their problems, and they were goaded into by Man City to sign Cristiano Ronaldo almost. Uh, but what do you think? How do you solve this problem at Manchester United, and do you still keep Cristiano Ronaldo there?
So it depends on the manager that they sign in the summer. So I was reading, or I was just opening up transfer market randomly at 3 a.m. at night, because that's what I do at 3 a.m. at in the morning. Randomly, when you're out of sleep, you just go to transfer market and search about random statistics. And I noticed this, yeah, and I noticed this very weird, worth mentioning statistics that the if you count, even if you count Ralph Ranić,
Yeah.
the past 3 appointments, or even past 4 appointments, if you count, no, past 3 appointments, if you count Michael Carrick and Ralph Ranić, have been interim appointments. So they were not done to lay out a project. They were done to stabilize the ship.
Mm.
Ole Gunnar Solskjaer came into Manchester United job after Jose Mourinho left them flabbergasted.
Mm.
No, basically they were crashing out, and Ole Gunnar Solskjaer was supposed to steady the ship for someone else to take over. He did a really good job in his initial days, and that's what landed him the job. I know. Then, so if you look at how Manchester United goes, problems start it starts from the post-Fergie era, I guess. The first manager that they hired didn't work out well, and after that, their appointments have been
Good on paper.
good on very good on papers. If you look at them,
Yeah.
they you almost feel like they will work at
Yes.
any
It has to
any
work. David
any yeah, it has
Moyes,
to work.
Louis Van
Uh,
Gaal, Jose
Jose
Mourinho.
Mourinho, who is like a serial winner, to be honest.
Yeah.
He did win the Europa League. But there's a widespread quotation in football which says it's not about how Jose Mourinho does like embraces the club, but it's about how he leaves it.
Leave
So
the club.
Manchester United were, I think, worse when he left the club. So with Ole, you were never going to have that one manager who had solutions to every single problem.
Hmm.
So you knew you were giving club to a guy who was developing himself and also could make mistakes and was allowed to make mistakes. So you give him, I guess, 2.5 seasons,
Hmm.
and he promises you a squad full of young people and who can actually deliver in the future.
Hmm.
So 2.5 years, you see Marcus Rashford developing quite well. You see players here and there giving their good. And Bruno Fernandes, out of all these, was a brilliant signing that started in well.
Out of
So
nowhere.
after 2.5 seasons, uh, I still think Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is more like a motivator than a manager, than a tactical manager. He is pretty similar to folks like Zidane, or I shouldn't put them in the same bracket based on the trophies, but folks like Zidane who are more like motivators. हुन्छ नि तपाईँले त्यो म्यानेजर्स हेर्दाखेरि चाहिँ यिनीहरू म्यान म्यानेजमेन्ट र मोटिभेसनको लागि चाहिँ राम्रो छ rather
Yeah.
than tactically someone compare like Guardiola or something like that.
Right.
So after 2.5 seasons of your manager promising you a squad that fights back, and they did that as well. They finished second in the Premier League last season.
Yeah.
You sign a player uh, towards the deadline day who's 37
Hmm.
and who was forced into your side, to be honest, who was forced to sign into your side. I don't, I didn't see it going out that well for Manchester United. I knew he would score goals. I knew he would score last minute winners or last minute goals that would secure you a draw. But I knew for a fact that uh, one reason or two, he would be the cause, or your system would be so dysfunctional that it would uh, entirely make you rely on last minute winners and last minute equalizers. You couldn't win games on their own. So I always knew this was coming, and I always kind of saw Ole Gunnar Solskjaer as a makeshift manager in Manchester United terms. I think they still are suffering from that post-Ferguson hangover. So I knew he was gonna go one day or the other. But I think Cristiano Ronaldo's signing, which resulted in this kind of a situation, further accelerated his sacking. So that's why a manager like Ralph Rangnick, who has a big name for himself, who has built the whole Red Bull legacy around him, and who is, I should say this, who is more like a sporting director than a manager, has come in. And he's also an interim appointment, means that you still have a
Not
project
made
to
your
be put on
mind.
place.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So after 6 months, you'll have a manager. अब हुन्छ नि रानिक साइन गर्दाखेरि त 6 months नै बाँकी थियो. Now it's maybe 4 or 5 months before they announce a new manager.
Yeah.
After 6 months, you're gonna have that guy on the consultancy role, which is not yet defined, and you're gonna have a team which does not exactly have a blueprint. And you have someone who's 37, we have someone who's 33, and you have boys in the back, but at least when they're 23, 24, 25, 26, you need to have a formidable setup. So I think it runs from top to bottom at Manchester United. It's not just Ronaldo, it's not just Ole, it's not just individual players, but everything is in shambles on him now.
Yeah. That's pretty much unfolding in front of the whole world at the moment. And I think, as you rightly pointed out, the just the sheer indecision, interim after interim, just and whatever they chose eventually didn't work out. So Solskjaer basically, overachieved and got a permanent job. Who do you think would be the right fit if you could like quickly pick someone and say this is the person for Manchester United? That's the manager they should get in the summer.
Okay, I take an alternative route to this answer. I think they should get a sporting director or a director of football, or at least someone who can lay out a project rather than just work under someone.
Okay.
Sunny, you could see Manchester United fans going out for Ed Woodward previously.
Mm.
Why? Because he was the one in charge of signing players. I think the only signing that turned out well for them in that period of time was Bruno Fernandes, right? In the past couple of years. I know Jadon Sancho is getting his feet on the ground, but still, Bruno Fernandes undoubtedly saved their season that season.
Absolutely.
So I think they should get a structure and then deploy a manager, Tesorize. If you look at the options that Manchester United fans are opting for example, the first name that comes in is Eric Ten Hag.
Mm-hmm.
But if you look at Ten Hag's tenure at Ajax, उसले एक्लै अचिभ गरेको चाहिँ होइन सबै सक्सेसेसहरू. He has always had a sporting director or director of football who has resonated with what he wants and who he wants to sign or who he wants to let go. Mark Overmars was there, who recently departed. हुन्छ नि त्यो खालको स्ट्रक्चरबाट चाहिँ बल्ल you can lay out a formidable project in terms of Manchester United. So I would definitely go for a sporting director or at least someone who has the authority to and the experience of developing a football club. For example, Ralf Rangnick has absolutely done that. You know, people can argue against the fact that he's only done that at Red Bull and they had basically nothing to lose, but he at least has done that, right? Yep. So that's how you should build a club. That's how you should build a club. And then the main reason for Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's sacking was that I'm completely for keeping Ole, or I was completely keeping Ole if you had a limited set of expectations for yourself. I'm not saying Ole Gunnar Solskjaer did nothing. I think he did a really good job of stabilizing the side and taking the side to one point. And from there on, you needed someone to go to that next level. I think Manchester United realistically wanted to win the league this season. Realistically, they wanted to do that. They didn't end up signing a defensive midfielder, Tara, with the results that they got last season. And since they got Ronaldo and everyone, and the fans at least thought you could have had a shot at the title if you got a DM. Tara, that didn't happen. Why? Because you don't have a proper plan on place. Someone wrote on Twitter, this was really good. Manchester United look like a donut because they have the sides, filled out, but the middle is always small.
That's a very good analogy, actually. I think just by looking at the Manchester United squad, the amount of games that they were expected to win, and that they dragged into a draw or a loss or just eking out that win when they started calling them second half United, I think that started last season. And I think it's never good. I mean, if you look at the great squads, this Manchester City squad, they pretty much closed the game by halftime. They already scored 2 to 3 goals by halftime. And I think there is a lengthy process that has to unfold at Manchester United for them to finally get back to those, like, the glory days that they talk about. It's going to be a little while, but I think they can build on this.
Yeah, I mean, it's not gonna take like Messi. It's not gonna take Ronaldo to get you there. It's gonna take a good system to take you there. Yeah. And with the expectations that United have, with the expectations that come from what they were, I think a system is a must. I know this sounds cliche because everyone has been saying that, but you cannot just live on and expect things to happen by themselves. They could have happened in the Ferguson era because he was a really, really, really good manager, and for someone to keep winning for that extended period of time, that was something very extraordinary. But you cannot expect another person to come in like that and do those stuff. You need to lay out a system which gives you sustained results. So I think that's the department that they're lagging behind.
I agree, Sudesh. And there's a lot we're gonna do, man. Do you know that we're almost at the hour? We're gonna reach we're gonna reach the hour mark pretty soon.
Uh, no, it feels like 10 minutes or 15
10
minutes
minutes.
since we began.
It's been a while. You know what? We'll wrap up here because there's so much that we have to cover in the few weeks. If you can find the time, and I can get to a
For sure,
computer,
for sure.
there's so much that's about to unfold, especially because we're reaching the business end, as they say,
Yeah,
of all the season. So thank you for doing this, Sudesh. We're gonna sit down and do this one more time in the coming few weeks. We'll talk about Qatar. We'll talk about the World Cup,
for sure, for
everything,
sure.
everything, and
For sure,
hopefully,
guys.
hopefully Qatar and we'll do a podcast together from one of the stadiums.
For sure, for sure.
All right, that's a wrap on the Sweet 16 episode of the ASM pod with the also handsome and charming Mr. Sudesh Baniya. And we'll have more with Sudesh in the coming few weeks. We're going to discuss a lot of footy, man, because this is what this podcast is going to be now. We're going to talk about MMA and football, and I'm just going to do a lot of bullshit. So yeah, then MMA podcast is also upcoming pretty soon. So you can stick around for that too. That's it. That's a wrap on the ASM Pod, episode 16. Till next time, see you guys. Bye bye. And end. And